In the following video, we'll be looking at creating constraints and deadline dates. We'll be looking at setting task constraints, as well as creating a task deadline. In Microsoft Project, when using automatic scheduling, you can set a task constraint, which is used to constrict the start and finish dates of tasks. And there are three main types of constraints to consider. There's a flexible constraint, which is where project can change the start and end date of tasks. There's inflexible constraints, where a task must start and finish on a particular date. Or there's semi-flexible constraint, where a project defines a start and finish date boundary. And if I double-click on a task, to open the task information dialog box, and within the advanced tab you can see the different type of constraints here. And by default, project selects a flexible constraint as soon as possible, and this means that if a task does not have a dependency, it will start on the first day of the project. So if I show you in the Gantt chart view, all the tasks that do not have a dependency will start on that first day of the project. If I want to select a different type of constraint, for example, for the party, I want it to start on a particular day, so I'm going to select the constraint type as must start on. And in the constraint date, I select the date I want it to start on and press OK. And this planning wizard box may appear, and this is explaining that there could be conflicts because this task has dependencies, as you can see down here. But I'm going to continue using this type of constraint. And you can see here in the indicator column that an icon has appeared showing that this particular task has a must start on constraint set. You can also change a constraint by just changing the date in the start or the finish column, and this will create a semi-flexible constraint. So ordering a cake, it must start no earlier than the 30th of July, and if you look over here in the indicator column, you can see that a start no earlier than constraint has been set. Within project, you can also select deadline dates, and a deadline date is different to constraints because it does not affect the scheduling calculations that project will make. It acts as a visual cue to notify that a deadline date exists. So, for example, I can select a deadline date for booking the venue. So if I double click on the task for the task information dialog box, in the advanced tab you can select a deadline date. So booking the venue, it must happen before the 28th of July. And you can see here in the Gantt chart that this icon has appeared showing that it is a deadline date. So hopefully now from watching this video you may be able to have a better understanding of using task constraints as well as deadline dates in Microsoft Project.